Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Great.
Awesome.
So my name is Al-Sahlani. I'm president of IBM International Business Machines, and I'm here to speak to you about the financial crisis between 2007 and 2009. I want to speak to the President of the United States because our company is headquartered right here in the United States, and I want to explain the roles that governments and corporations had in terms of the global, domestic, interstate, individual level that affected our corporation during this financial crisis. I'm also here to give recommendations and provide analysis on what happened in the past and how we can move forward in the future in case another crisis like this happens again.
Thank you, Mohammed. Let's begin. So, what was the financial crisis from 2007 to 2009?
So the financial crisis began in late 2007, which also was referred to as the Great Recession. This affected economies all around the world, not just here in the United States, and many companies and people. So we had a great stock market crash. So many of the higher stocks in the economy went to a complete crash, resulting in millions of people losing their jobs domestically and globally, as well as their savings, all their money. This made homelessness go up all over the world. Inflation was all the way up. Many businesses shut down. A lot of the businesses that did stay open were underperforming and were very overwhelmed with the situations that they were put in. So basically it was an effect, a financial downfall for the whole world, not just in the US. And it was something that the entire world had to fight against together in order to achieve prosperity all around the world.
Great. So, why should the U.S. listen to your analysis and take your advice into consideration?
Well, IBM is a technology company, so therefore technology companies were kind of the backbone and on the forefront for moving past the financial crisis and looked at as, because technology always improves and in the future it was always being invested in. So a technology company like IBM was actually not declining. It was actually improving compared to all the other businesses that was going on. We actually had a 20% increase in our stock market. We had $2.8 billion in revenue. Our shares went up to $2.05 compared to the $1.95 that it was prior, between 2008 and 2009. And the stock was expected to grow from 2008 to 2009 by 22%. So basically we were at we knew how to handle the business at the time, and we also knew, and I'll explain this further, about we didn't lose as much jobs compared to other companies, and we withstood all of this, not only here in the US, I have to stress this, but all across the globe.
So, can you please describe the effects that corporate and governmental roles impacted your company on a global level?
So one of the biggest roles was the coming together of many companies such as Intel and NASA, and 2008 was the launching of the Mars rovers, also approved by the United States government. So that was the governmental role there. The development of the RAD 6000 computer. So because the U.S. has allowed us to do this, and all these other companies got together to be able to do this at such a financially negatively financial time, this allowed for job markets to expand because we needed more engineers, more people to work on this project, and it also increased employment around the world, not just in the U.S. So this was also able to allow for IBM to develop and move up in the ranks, or in the world, I would say, compared to other companies. Was able to expand its opportunities and provide jobs for people globally. Was a lot more resources. This increased international trade, so it's also affected international trade policy of the United States and countries all over the world, such as the EU, Brazil, and China. So overall, government role played a huge role for the global level for IBM. So, and we were also able to open up in 10 plus new locations in 2008 because of this, because of the United States effort and giving us the okay to expand into Mars, which is not only an achievement for the US and for the global world, but just for humanity at the time as well.
All right. How did some of these corporate and governmental roles impact your company on an interstate level?
So NAFTA was very helpful. So NAFTA is the North American Free Trade Agreement between the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And this helped not only the U.S., but the trade between those three countries, but more or less the U.S. and Mexico really improved Mexico's economy. Mexico decided to invest in IBM very early on, back in the 1960s, and they knew that technology, as everyone knows, technology will always be moving forward. And because of this, once the stock market did crash, countries from all over the world were looking at it and saying, we need countries that are more technologically advanced to invest in. We want those countries to help us out. So this improved the relationship between the United States and Mexico as well, not only in a trade policy-wise, but in a business matter, because the U.S. provided a company such as IBM to be opened up all over Mexico. This provided many more jobs for Mexicans, and it also improved Mexico's trade and diplomatic relationships with partners all across the world. So I'd say NAFTA was a huge accomplishment and a huge achievement, I would say, between the U.S. and Mexico especially.
Nice, nice. So can you tell me about some of the corporate and governmental roles and how they impacted your company on a domestic level?
Well, domestically, our corporate role was, look, IBM does not want to cut many jobs, but unfortunately we had to, and this was where our global strategy came about. And it was reported by several news sites that, look, we have a global strategy, and our global strategy is what's going to improve the economy of the U.S. So we had to invest in other locations around the world that had a means of cheaper resources. This did, however, give jobs for other people around the world, which made those economies bolster up. But IBM did have to cut around 10,000 jobs, but it was, in the long run, it was so that we wouldn't have to cut around 35 to 50,000 jobs. So that role itself at the time, I would say was, I mean, yes, people did lose jobs, all over, but IBM did not fall. So it was very important for us to enact that we had to lay off 10,000 people. So it was more so of our personal corporate role in order to, in the near future, which ended up working, to save the U.S. economy and helped save other countries all over the world. So the U.S. economy was helped out a lot through this decision in the future.
Excellent, excellent. Now, how did some of these corporate and governmental roles impact your company, IBM, on an individual level?
So individually, I would say President George W. Bush. So this, he was the president at the time, 2007. So his ideology and his agreements of his pact of free trade policy is what really helped IBM. As I mentioned beforehand, trade was able to expand between China and the U.S. and diplomatic relations. This all came about from the free trade policy. Even though the financial crisis did start off in 2007, the free trade policy that was always there, provided by President George Bush, allowed a means for, hey, look, so long as we have this, it's going to be much easier for the economy, the global economy, to not go into complete downfall. So I would say President Bush's contribution to that was very helpful and allowed for things to move forward, even though they were at a drawback. And then that's a whole different political argument if you want to argue it was his fault for the recession or whatnot. But the free trade policy really what helped us move forward.
Right. So what 3 recommendations would you give for your company to prepare for a similar crisis in the future?
So if this does happen in the near future, I would say, first of all, we have to look at our stocks and see where they're going to be at. Technology is always changing. Are we up to date with technology as we should be compared to other technology companies? So that way we can figure out a way to ensure not so many jobs get lost. Like I mentioned before, we have to lay off 10,000 people, but it was for the better. And this has resulted in many other people getting employed all over the world. But then again, we kind of did want to keep those jobs at home. So we have to figure out a way to ensure that not a lot of jobs get lost. That's my first recommendation, which, probably easier said than done, but it's probably necessary. Another thing would be incorporate more than just in technology companies to being the backbone of saving the economy. So what I mean that is, yes, IBM has the responsibility, it's a technology company, but it shouldn't just be that IBM or Intel should be the backbone of the economy. Why don't we try to incorporate other companies, other types of companies or industries to help be the backbone of this country? Because if you put everything just on the technological aspect, technological industry, and those companies fail, your country will just fail as a whole, and inflation will go up, and we could fall into a depression. And my last one would be, we just have to keep developing new technological advancements, and I would say the use of AI, especially right now with IBM, it's helping out a lot, but we have to be efficient in the sense that we can't use too much AI. And by what I mean by that is we're getting to the point of we're using so much AI that we have machines that are being used to operate instead of hard labor. So we can go have a computer do something or have a drone ship something out. This is getting a cut and loss in jobs. So we have to figure out how to balance out AI and new technology while improving technology, but at the same time keep jobs, add newer industries. So those are my recommendations.
Amazing. Thank you, Mohammed, for coming in. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I hope you take my analysis and recommendations seriously in the near future for your policy. Thank you.
Excellent.